I'll kick it off really quickly. And great film. Really, really enjoyed it. Loved your arc, and would love to know what it was like to work on, kind of like a story based on a true story and such a horrifying take. What was that
Yeah,
like?
so going into this, I did not know like the stereotype of a white van being terrified actually had truth to it. So it was pretty validating to like learn about that. It was so nice to have Warren on set who had done so much, like obviously being one of the writers of the film, like had done so much research on the true story. So having like being able to go to him. And I was also a previously a huge true crime fan, big podcast girly. So yeah, right up my alley.
Awesome. And obviously like a period piece, and you really transformed for it. I think probably the most I recognize as far as the transformation into the 70s, into that era. Was that fun to kind of play in that era? I mean, it's always 70s, 80s, and 90s are always a blast. Was that like an enjoyable time?
Yes, I think there's a lot of like music influence on this, and like Warren's attention to detail made it so much easier to go into the 70s. Like before, we would have phone calls all the time, and like we were creating 1970s playlists for our characters, and
That's awesome.
the costume designers, like her attention to detail, like most of the clothes really were vintage from the 70s. So I feel like it made it easier to like get into character because as soon as showing up to set, it felt like being transformed into like a different world or transported into a different world.
That's awesome. By the way, before next question, I love your background. It's
Thank you.
great.
I know I'm such a little nerd. I got all my little like superhero stuff and I'm very proud of all of it.
No, I mean, I shouldn't do this mid interview, but I mean,
Okay,
that's
you
really
get
what I'm
it.
dealing with.
You
So yeah, we're on
freaking
the
get it.
same page.
Okay.
Um, but I mentioned earlier, obviously, your arc in this film is, I think, one of the most transformative as far as from, playing the big sister. We all know the usual tropes. Was it fun to play a character with with layers that really kind of comes out of her shell as the movie progresses?
Yes, because there's something like going into a character, obviously first glance, like she's not the most likable character. She's kind of the mean older sister, but playing her, like I love her. I love Margaret. I understand where she's coming from. I get she's jealous of her younger sister. So I feel like playing an unlikable character that has an arc is such an opportunity because you have to like go into like talking about villains, but like no one's born mean. So like why is she mean to her younger sister? I had so much fun like exploring that side of her.
And the last thing I'll ask, because I know we're tight for time. I love the behind the scenes of especially films like this that are like thrillers, and like you mentioned the white van, and it hits home
Yes.
for a lot of people. Was there a way for you in the cast, with such a talented young cast, for you guys to unwind when the day was over of playing like such like tense material?
I'm trying to think. So we filmed in Shreveport, Louisiana, and it was during the pandemic. So we couldn't, it was like September of 2020 or September of 2021, but I think 2020. And so there wasn't like we couldn't really go out, but that being said, it like allowed us to really like rely on each other. We were the community we had there. So like one night Allie hosted a family dinner and we all went to like her Airbnb and she cooked for us and we had wine and cheese and she started a wine company and she's having us like taste test all her different wines. So like it almost like obviously the filming in the pandemic had its challenges, but I think it made us like a more of a family unit much quicker.
Hmm, I love that. Well, thank you like I said, you were great in this. Hopefully we get to do this again, another project, because you have so many cool things that have happened in the future. So this is a pleasure.
Thank you. It was lovely talking to you and very
You too.
punctual. Punctual. I'm impressed.